Okay. At this time, I'd like to call the meeting to order with the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you all for coming today. The first agenda item that we have to discuss is the approval of the minutes from the emergency meeting that was held on July 1st.
I make a motion to approve the emergency meeting minutes on July 1st, 2013.
Second.
We'll vote. Julie?
Yes.
Doug?
Yes.
And I'll vote yes. The next item we have on the agenda, if Alan Mayo would like to speak on the contract for the new fencing.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I'd like to first give you an update on where we're at with the playground. The playground has been ordered. It's set to be delivered before noon on Thursday morning. So we're going to be offloading the truck Thursday, and we have a community build for Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So I just want the residents to know that we're putting it out there, that anybody that would like to volunteer, any of the 3 days, any hours between 8 and say 5 in the afternoon, come on over and see us. The rec department is going to be offering lunches for those that are working around noontime, so we'd really like to see a lot of people there. It's a community event, and we hope to have a playground by Tuesday or Wednesday next week.
Which playground?
Gilman Way Playground.
Alan, is there a little blurb, a paragraph written up about where, when, and how?
Yes, actually, I do have that.
I could get it up on the website tomorrow. Perfect. That's what I need.
The playground was purchased on the state bid, as you had approved. The price of the playground was $65,592.92, which was under the $70,000 amount that was set. So we are good to go. The fencing contract that I'm asking for tonight is to fence off the playground area to protect that new playground. I went out to quote and got 3 different quotes. The first quote was from Gerard Fence at $12,130. The second quote was from Surfside Fence Company out of Fitchburg at $11,906. And the third quote was from Johnson Fence Company at $11,600. So I am recommending Johnson Fence, the low quote, to be awarded that contract. And I'm hoping to have the vice chair sign that tonight if it's approved, so that we can get them working in time to get the playground built on the weekend. I would like to get them in there as soon as possible because we would like to fence up prior to build so that once it's built, it's protected. So that's where we're at with the playground. So that's what I'm asking for tonight.
Thank you very much.
Sure. Have you used these folks before, Johnson Fence?
We have used them in the past, quite a few years ago though, and they did a good job. They've always had a reputable business, and they've always done a good job with fencing, so I don't anticipate any problems with them. I will be on site with them throughout the whole install.
I'm glad they're relatively local too.
Yes, yeah, they are.
Are there any other questions?
I just had one. You said it was 11,600 or is it 11,800?
I believe it's 11, well, it might be 11.8.
That's what it says.
It's 11.8.
Yeah,
I stand corrected.
11,800. So I will make a motion to award the fence contract to Johnson Fence not to exceed $11,800 for the Gilman Way Playground.
Second.
We vote. Julie?
Yes.
Doug?
Yes.
And I vote yes. So, and I will sign that then before we go today.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Good job, Alan.
Okay, the next item that we have on our agenda is to act on the employment contract for Fire Chief Ray Laporte, which is, everyone's had an opportunity to review. Had any questions or comments?
I think we should explain that it's a 3-year contract.
Sure, yeah.
And it's a pretty standard contract as far as I'm not losing.
Oh, right. So it is a 3-year contract, which is fairly standard for the town, this particular one. Normal holidays and health insurance, nothing out of the ordinary. There's no questions or concerns, I'll take a motion that we approve the employment agreement and ask Chief Laporte to do the same.
I'll make that motion.
Okay, do we have a second?
I have a second.
Okay, we'll vote. Julie?
Yes.
Doug? Oh,
Yes.
oh, sorry. Yes,
And question,
sure,
the amount,
sure, the amount.
80,000. 120.
You don't get paid.
So, the contract is for $60,000 for fiscal year 2014, $62,000 for fiscal year 2015, and $64,000 for the fiscal year
100% worth it.
2016.
He's worth that twice as much.
thank you.
He passed all the tests too. You passed everything.
We'll get the sign painted for you.
You passed everything.
Want to revote?
Yeah, we'll revote this. Julie?
Yes.
Doug?
Yes.
And I'll vote yes. And we'll take care of executing that and give you your copy to execute as well.
She's not here yet. It's over 7 o'clock, so she's not going to be here.
Oh, sorry, we're moving.
Yeah.
I know, sorry, I'll try to talk slower.
It is. Well, we're not used to banging these up.
I know,
We could maybe take some of the, toward the end of the
Sure,
agenda.
We want to do one day with the license?
sure. At this time, we'll move ahead to our action on our one-day liquor licenses for the Otter River Sportsman Club.
Now, I had a question about these, because I think we voted the liquor license, but not the entertainment.
Okay,
Both.
We
The
need
ones
to do
that are
both.
circled, yeah.
Both.
Both liquor and entertainment for the ones that are, and there's profit and non-profit, I believe.
No.
Are there?
Are we only voting on the circle ones?
Oh, okay, yes. I see. 1, 2,
19th is a
3.
nonprofit.
Yeah.
14, 15.
yeah. So if anyone would like to make a motion,
I'll make a motion for a liquor license, August 19th, Golden Acres nonprofit. That means the fee would be waived. Do you want me to do them all?
sure.
Okay, I'll make a motion on August 23rd, a benefit from Mark Falier. That is a liquor and entertainment license from 4 to midnight, and that is not nonprofit. September 7th, Garden of Water outing. That's a liquor license, one-day liquor license. September 8th, family reunion. That's a liquor license and entertainment license from 4 to midnight. September 13th, the wedding. That's a liquor and an entertainment license from 1 p.m. to midnight. September 14th, Congregational Church outing. It's a nonprofit. That's a liquor license. The fee would be waived. September 15th, Holy Cross outing. That's a nonprofit. The fee would be waived. Liquor license. September 21st, a wedding. That's a liquor and an entertainment license from 1 to midnight. September 27th, Jack and Jill. That's a liquor and an entertainment license from 6 p.m. to midnight. September 28th, company outing. That's a liquor license. October 5th, golf tournament outing, liquor license.
And do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, we can vote on all of these licenses if anybody has any issue with any of them or questions, comments. Okay, Julie?
Yes.
Doug?
Yes.
And I'll vote yes. So those are granted.
Take the next item if you want,
The-
more of a discussion than action.
Which one? I'm sorry.
I went to audit contract.
Oh, okay.
Oh, the CDBG contract. Yeah, that's crossed off the list. So, Melanson and Heath, they are our auditors. We have a 3-year contract with them that ended June 30th. They have proposed a new 3-year agreement. We like the firm, we like the services they provided. However, they put an awful lot into this audit for fiscal 12, which ended last year that they just completed. And of course, they're trying to recoup. So the most important point is not the quality of their services, but the price, always. We have on budget this year, voted at annual town meeting, $22,000 for audit services. Melanson and Heath has proposed, however, $28,000. I have not said no yet. I want a public discussion, and some sense is, if we were to vote more than 22 at all, what would it be? And where would we find those resources? Now, for a proposal from the town coordinator, 24 or 25,000 certainly seems reasonable for them to recoup losses on the prior contract because they had to put so much in. It still begs the question about 2 out years, which town meeting has not met, has not voted on. So I think we don't even need to decide tonight. What we need is a good discussion about what's appropriate. If you want to reach a decision, that's fine, but as long as we have a public discussion, I'm happy to communicate with them in the morning that we had a public discussion and here's where we are.
Well, I mean, to go from, 22 is based on last year, right?
Right. That's why we put it in the
funded
budget.
that. So to go from 22 to 28 is a pretty significant increase. To me, certainly they should be able to recoup some of the additional work they did this year. I don't have a big problem with that. I think 25 is probably a more reasonable, amount.
Yes.
I just have a question for you, for Jeff. How much extra, I know I heard directly from Jay Springfield that there was a lot of departments that had trouble and getting the information from, which delayed them, which gave them more work, has that been addressed?
We believe it has been addressed. And it is Jay Springfield, who's a senior partner in the firm. His time in this audit that was just completed is what is in play here, because they always calculate, this man's probably going to put in 80 hours into an audit, and that's just built into their specification when they quote it. He wound up putting in, I'm going to make up a number here, 240 or 250 or 260, 3 times what was expected for the reasons that were just brought forth. It did have to do with the turnover in the Treasury's office, the change of accountant, and the fact that record keeping was less than perfect by a considerable margin. Having said that, tough work was done, a strong stride forward was made. We expect that this next year's audit, which still uses the old software for 9 months, will be a difficult audit, but will get us out of the woods, because the year that just started, fiscal 14, we're very clean. We are keeping every penny in line, and we have new accounting software in place that will make the fiscal 14 audit, when we get there, a very easy, clean audit to do. We're still a year away from that. So we still have to bridge that last piece.
And I agree with Doug that it's understandable that they, given the amount of time that they put into last year's audit, that they would want to try to recoup some, but I also believe that that's a pretty steep increase, even if it's warranted by the number of hours, just based on the town's budgeting. Does anyone have, yes?
You know, it's like any other business, whether you're doing a septic system or a roof, you run into problems, you can't always recoup everything.
Yes.
And after we have this rough spell, it's gonna be easy coasting for them, more than likely. So that is a big hit, but it's a price of doing business sometimes.
Yeah.
So I think-
Yes.
It's a little off subject, but Jeff kind of brought it to light with the new software. Are we any closer to being able to get budget to actual numbers?
I should think that in this year, for instance, at the end of July, you can get them anytime you want, but at the end of July, we'll produce a report
No,
for
you
July.
can't get them.
For this fiscal year,
Nope,
we just started the fiscal year 2 weeks ago.
I know.
And what is lacking?
I was told,
Personnel, payroll data?
no. I was told by Fred that data entry has to be done.
For fiscal 14. Okay. I'll make it a note.
Are there any other questions or comments?
Just one question. Coming back to when these folks do billing, just because we budgeted 22 or 25, is that a bottom line that we're going to pay regardless? Or do they only bill us up to that point?
No, well, excellent question. They can't charge us more than the committed amount. They do progress billing. I've never seen it happen, though theoretically it could happen that they could just come through so quickly and easily that they would never bill the maximum. Typically, they do progress billing in chunks of about $3,000 every 2 months, and then, then at the end of the year, a lump sum payment to get you right up to whatever the contract amount is. We do ask for and get some combination. We don't get a perfect billable hours statement, but they do provide some evidence, usually an email or a letter, of how many hours this partner spent, how many hours that person spent on it. But it's not a one-for-one accountability statement, because, to answer your question directly, the contract amount is pretty much what they're going to extract from us.
What would your take be, Jeff, if you went back to them just to say that the public discussion seemed to be in favor of an increase, but do you think that they may be, well, I guess maybe until you ask them, you won't know for sure
I
how
think
viable
they'll be
they are.
amenable to the fact that $25,000 is better than no contract at all. They're going to recoup their losses this year by signing a contract for 25 for 1 year. And frankly, I like to bargain a little toughly. We'll just say, no, we're not signing a 3-year, but we will sign a 1 year for 25. Take it or leave it, because we love you, we love your work, and you can come back at Christmas or whatever with a proposal for fiscal 14, which should be much lower, because if we do all this hard work, it should be much easier for you. Our incentive is to stay with them. We just touched on it, so that when it gets a whole lot easier, we can say, now you'll charge us less, because you work so hard to clean everything up for this town, now you'll charge us less.
It's kind of like getting your rebate back from the light company.
Maybe we'll get closer to an answer at the
I can
next
certainly
meeting.
bring you a definitive answer at the next meeting.
And the other thing, which is the transition, is since they did, the previous year down to this year, it's easier for them to step in and keep going than somebody else to learn the whole thing again.
Exactly.
Thank you very much for taking care of that, of course.
I'll come back with the final offer.
Sure.
2 weeks.
Would it be appropriate to move on to this appointment? Sure, if that's next in the new business.
We also have appointments from the town clerk. Are we going to wait until
She's
she's...
coming in after she
Oh.
closes at 7. She'll be about 7:10.
Do you want them all together?
Sure, we can do it. I'll accept a motion for the appointment that we have.
I make a motion to appoint, I hope I have this right, Ashley Bird to Arts Cultural Council for a 3-year term expiring in 2016. Insurance Committee, a one-year term expiring 2014, and Veteran Services Agent.
We did that.
Okay.
Yeah, I put that on there, not knowing you did it the last one.
Okay.
And for the one above that, there's no name. You
Yeah,
guys are
insurance.
supposed to assign someone or both.
It's supposed to assign.
Yeah, it's a new committee.
Oh, all right.
You already nominated Ashley,
Well, I don't know if she's agreed to that. So I think actually just supposed to cultural. I was
Surprise.
a little surprised seeing her for all three of these because they're kind of different. But do we want to have a we'll just do Ashley for
Just do Ashley, yeah.
Arts Cultural Council.
Is there any discussion on Ashley? Do we have a second for that?
so.
Nomination second, okay. If there's no discussion, then we'll vote on the appointment of Ashley Bird to the Arts Cultural Council for a 3-year term expiring in 2016. Julie?
Yes.
Doug?
Yes.
And I'll vote yes.
Now, do we need to talk about the insurance committee?
Jeff, what do you?
The question I have is there's no specific number required in bylaw or policy. We haven't had one in several years. There was an insurance committee for many years. We've all agreed it's a great idea to do. The bylaws reference the fact that a member of advisory will be appointed, and I believe you've taken a vote and appointed a member already, and that the select board will have a member on the insurance committee. And that's it. Now, common sense would indicate there should probably be someone from a labor union or a representative of labor, but there is no law or policy that requires that. You probably want a citizen at large, I'm thinking, for the same reason. There's no law or policy, but it makes sense to appoint a citizen, an interested citizen at large. And that's 4, so you should probably have someone else just to make it an odd number, like maybe a non-collectively bargained town employee, or a member from a different board or committee or whatever, just so you have a 5th member. I will serve ex officio and be sort of clerk to the group.
So should we do an all-call? Put out
Yeah.
for an at-large member?
For an at-large member or 2, or, we need a member from the board, for one thing. And then, I politically speaking, and to be honest, to any organized labor units that we negotiate with, there are 3, there may be 4. How do we pick one? There's no perfect solution to this one. I can certainly ask around and see if anybody wants to participate, but each unit has a different contract and may have slightly different insurances and therefore may have different interests. So it's slightly problematic. But I think a starting point would be, certainly I'll ask around and see if any of the 4 units wants to send a representative to this group.
Sounds like a good idea. Are there any questions, comments? Okay. And Chairman Bennett was who we had appointed to the as the Veterans
Yes,
Service
that's
Agent.
correct.
Okay. A little welcome home present.
I sent him an email, he said, "Thank you." Sarcastically, I'm sure.
Okay. Do you think we can get the last item here accomplished next before we move on? And the next matter that we have under new business is action on the CDBG contract for lead paint inspection for fiscal year 2012. And did you have any? No.
I was just going to make a motion.
Sure.
Okay. I'll make a motion to award the lead paint inspection services to Caulfield Environmental of Leominster, Mass. According to the schedules that are listed.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Is there any discussion? Yeah. Oh, sure.
Go ahead, you first.
Go ahead.
Board of Health. Well, anyway, this is, it's a required inspection, part of the Community Development Block Grant Program, where they do housing rehabilitation as part of the program. And obviously, we have to do inspectional services, because if we're going to rehabilitate a home, we have to know whether lead paint remediation occurs or not. That's why this is sort of a blanket contract at an hourly rate to provide those services as needed, based on the number of houses that you have and the expected impact. The houses are typically older housing stock and typically do have some lead paint remediation required as part of the building. Your turn.
Is 2012 the misprint? Are we doing this?
Yeah, probably.
No.
It's CDBG.
They're a year behind.
Fiscal year.
Right. This was the money that we got when we went in with Hubbardston.
So
To do
they've already
housing.
done the inspections?
No.
No.
They're still working
The
on that
funding
fiscal year.
comes from that fiscal
Okay.
year.
Yeah.
Then my next question is, are they required to hire this out when you have 2 certified inspectors employed at Board of Health?
I don't know the answer to that one. Very good question. I know they typically have just taken it as part of their project requirements, is to do the testing, but no reason on earth we can't have local inspectors do
seems
the work
silly to-
if it's, so to speak, free. It's not free, but your time is worth
Right.
something.
That money can be spent.
Well, it could also go toward in-kind services when you
Yeah.
total up the grant.
So it's an excellent point going forward. I'll use that as a segue to, there is going to be a Phase 6 filing. This is the 2012 piece, there's a 2013 piece, and there may be a 2014 piece, and so I'm all ears, Diana, when it comes to further work in this area that's going to necessitate
Yeah, we're both certified.
inspections, yeah.
If there aren't any more questions or comments, we can vote on this, the CDBG contract for the paint inspection. Julie,
Yes.
Doug,
Yes.
and I'll vote yes. Is Miss Lovelace here?
Somebody's just coming in.
Oh, okay. We're still early, so.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I have an item under new business.
Oh, sure.
I would like the board to vote to ask to request the Narragansett Regional School District for the audits that they've had for the last 3 years, so that the town can have a copy of those.
Okay.
Okay, so I'll do that in the form of a motion.
Okay. Second that? Okay. Is there any discussion? The motion was to request the Narragansett Regional School District's audits for the last 3 years. So we have kind of more information to go forward, working out an agreement. If there's no discussion, you can vote. Julie?
Yes.
Doug?
Yes.
And I'll vote yes.
I'll do it straight away.
Okay. If no one has any objections, the item that we had for 725, which is me, I'm here. So to discuss the town meeting article language, if no one has an objection, to discuss that now while we wait. The reason that I had requested that this be put on as an agenda item is that I've had, after the last special town meeting and annual town meeting, I had some citizens voice their concerns, which are understandable. As was explained at those meetings, by law, the warrant articles are just warnings, and they're supposed to just give general information, so you know if there's a topic that's going to be discussed, you know whether or not to come. So if we're going to be discussing the school budget, even though we don't have a dollar amount, if the school budget is something that's important to you, you have the proper notice to come to the meeting. If we're discussing light and water, you know if that's something that's important to you, you know to come to that particular meeting. So even though we have complied with the issues of law, and I completely understand, in the interest of transparency, not that we weren't being transparent, but just in the interest of giving as much information to people as possible, I thought that, now it won't be an issue for the special town meeting that we have next week, because there's only one issue one that has the dollar amounts already in there. But going forward, I just wanted to raise it as a concern that perhaps we could work with town council to not necessarily put figures in, but to have as close to the language that's going to be motioned in, again, which again, it's still not exact because there's the motion language could change, anyone can change it at one town floor, but just so that people feel that they are given as much information basically as the Board of Selectmen has. So that's something that, and I don't think that really requires any kind of motion or vote, but just something that I wanted to raise as potentially an issue, and if there are any thoughts or concerns about that, that anyone wanted to raise.
I'd like
Sure.
to comment. I heard at the special town meeting, not so much at the annual, a little at the annual town meeting, that confusion on the floor, that we weren't making the motions as they were in the warrant. And it was a difficult thing to explain at that very moment, that the motion is not the warrant, although we have historically done it that way. It doesn't need to be done that way, and since Governor Bill Weld in 1993 enacted municipal law reforms, most towns don't do it that way. Templeton never changed. So that's the reason there was a bit of confusion, is that the warrant article is not the motion, does not need to be the motion. But having said that, there's nothing wrong, as you just said, Ken, with publishing the proposed motions. So rather than picking up the warrant articles, what we should have for you is a packet of motions, which might get amended or changed, but if you got the motion and a pen and someone amends it, you can just read along like a scorecard.
Right.
Or put them up on an overhead projector. Here's the proposed motion, which substitutes for the warrant article at the meeting. And it would be very helpful. I haven't spoken to town council about that, but I think it is a way to do this transition from an article to a motion, which is what you're actually voting at the meeting, is a motion.
Right. And just to go further on that, because I can personally attest that there's no funny business, at least from my point of view, going on with the Board of Selectmen, obviously. But I think that sometimes people, given the town's history of conflict, I think that sometimes people get, which it's completely understandable, to get caught up in kind of what's going on here. Why isn't this the same? Instead of actually focusing on what the particular motion is going to do or the impact of the motion, we're more concerned about why wasn't this, and then rather than people having to spend their brain power on that, we can focus on what the real issue is. So that may be something, again, that it won't come up for several months, hopefully, God willing, but it's something that we can discuss in the future. Any questions or comments on that before? I believe Ms. Lovelace
Oh, yes.
is here. Okay, so we can move on to that item.
There's a letter to sign, by the way. There's one in your packets. There's the official one.
Oh, the official. Do you need to read the language of the letter?
Yeah, sure.
Sure.
Well, let me give a little background first.
Sure.
Why don't we turn to the directors of the Council on Aging? Actually, they were the interviewing committee, made the selection of candidates. I participated in the final interviews, but ultimately this was their choice. I don't mean to put you on the spot, Charlene, but we're delighted with the candidate we have in front of you. We unanimously recommend to you this candidate, and we're looking for you to make the appointment this evening.
Okay.
Now you can read the letter and Bethany can introduce herself.
Okay. Dear Ms. Lovelace, the town of Templeton is pleased to offer you the position of Director of the Templeton Council on Aging. The annual salary for this position is currently $34,518, half of which is reimbursable from the Montechusett Area Regional Transportation Authority. We also offer you standard town employment and fringe benefits and an immediate start date, subject to your passing a pre-employment physical arranged by the town. The Templeton Council is, as you know, on the cusp of major forward strides in serving our elderly population, with a new senior center, new programming, and potential staffing improvements all coming in the year ahead. We are pleased that you are our chosen candidate, and we offer our best wishes for your success. Welcome. And then, if you'd like to say anything to introduce yourself, or...
Sure. So I am the chosen candidate. Thank you. Thank you very much. My name is Bethany Lovelace. I originally started in the COAs, in the Pepperell COA, where I was the activity director and then became assistant director after that. At the same time, I was then juggling a part-time position. Pepperell was part-time,
I was also part-time at the Groton COA, driving the van, dispatching the van, and running activities. Groton then picked me up full-time. The director was departing, so she showed me a lot of, her job so that I could help transition the new person, and now I'm going to be a director myself. I'm very excited.
Well, thank you very much. Welcome. Is that a
question.
Yes, sure.
I just want to let you know that I'm not opposed to this appointment nor the next one. This is more as a concern. Because here we are, we don't know what's going to happen next Friday. And my concern is that on having appointments and offering these positions, if we have to, as a town, cut back on either hours or layoffs, I have a concern because, I don't like to do that to any employee, whether it's the town or whatever. And I'm just voicing that as a concern and letting you, the Board of Selectmen, know that from a financial standpoint and from an employment standpoint, I have that concern. I think the positions need to be filled. It's just that I don't want to have to go back and say, we have to cut back your hours, because folks count on that as far as our goals.
Definitely. And with going forward, the possibilities of this being resolved, I think, on Friday, while there's always hope, I think that the issue with the school budget could drag on until, December 1st and continue on. And I think that in the interest of the rest of the town functioning with the balancing of interests, I personally think that, while keeping that in mind, that is something that we should keep in mind, that we kind of have to keep marching forward, preparing for the worst, but hoping that things will be okay. And that we'll be able
I don't
to
disagree with
Oh, right, yeah. Are there any more comments or questions? If not,
I'll make a motion
Yes, sure.
to appoint Bethany Lovelace as the COA director.
I'm gonna second that.
Okay, and we'll take a vote. Julie?
Yes.
Doug?
Yes.
And I'll vote yes. Let's sign this now.
Thank you.
Can you start tomorrow?
No, we're gonna start
That would not be
Right now.
respectful of my current position. But I can juggle. I can juggle.
By all means, if you, I know we can speak to Charlie, we hope to, free time or whatever evenings, weekend, we can orient you. to the
Yes,
town running.
yes,
I'm
I
here
definitely wanna,
most evenings, so I'm happy to show you around or whatever.
All right.
She wanted to give 2 weeks' notice for a previous.
Sure. She
Yeah.
has
That
to.
would bring it to the week of Monday the 29th.
Yeah, sure.
I do plan, yes, technically Tuesday, because I do plan to give my notice tomorrow. But I do have personal days and vacation days that I can take 1 or 2 throughout that 2-week period, so that I can be here during normal business hours and start getting my feet wet.
Be introduced around and so on.
Yes, yep.
And we're gonna take her now and show her.
Great. And show her the
Okay.
new building too.
I've got
while I'm
plenty of
there.
time.
If you'll excuse us.
I'm sure.
Oh, we're leaving, okay.
Nice job.
Yeah, congratulations.
Is she gonna get a copy of that?
Yeah.
Should we come back later on when they close to pick it up, or? You want it now? Okay, sure.
The letter?
I'll take it.
I'll tell you what, we have to run it through the copy machine.
And she'll have that letter for you in 1 second.
Sure.
Thank you. Congratulations. Yeah, sure. Yeah, you're all
Okay.
set. It's probably a little cooler out there too.
I don't know, the AC is actually working in here.
And-
There
oh,
is
it's
a
more-
difference.
Don't go out in the hall.
Don't go in the hall. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Shall we? Carol should be here soon. Oh,
What perfect timing.
hello.
That's the letter, but he hasn't even seen it yet, so let him read it to you.
So the next item that we have is to discuss and act on appointment of an assistant town clerk.
Yes. The original goes to her. We keep the original.
And her name is Robin Strasdis.
Yeah.
Okay. And the letter reads as follows. Dear Ms. Strasdis, we are pleased to offer you an appointment as Assistant Town Clerk in the Office of Town Clerk Carol Harris, 4 Elm Street, Baldwinville. Your appointment is for 18 hours per week and is effective immediately. You will be paid at grade 4, step 3, due to your significant prior experience as assistant city clerk and gardener. Welcome to the town of Templeton. And then, would you like to make a few comments on her qualifications, or?
We had several great applicants, but the fact that she has worked as a city clerk for over 23 years.
Oh, wow.
Not as city clerk, I'm sorry, assistant.
Assistant, right.
Will be beneficial. She's a notary, which will be great just to have her uptown.
Oh, great.
So she'll be good.
Thank you very much.
I have one question.
Yes, sure.
Hours that she's expected to work, I know it's flexible and depends, what's her going to be standard hours, roughly?
18.
Okay, just afternoons, as you see, I didn't really know what your,
It'd be 8:30 to 2 on Mondays, Wednesday 7:30 to 3, and Thursday 8:30 to 1:30.
she's good call.
Yeah. I mean, that could change.
Yeah, as you're on vacation.
Do I have a motion?
I make a motion to appoint Robin Strasdas as assistant town clerk.
Do I have a second?
Second that.
And is there any discussion or comments? Okay, if not, oh, yes.
Is this the same pay grade that the assistant left at?
It's a step 3, which is below the mid-range, but it's, there's 7 grades, so this is a 3, which is 1 step below the mid-range.
There's anything else? Okay, we'll vote. Julie?
Yes.
Doug?
Yes.
And I'll vote yes. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
You'll of course see that she gets this.
Okay. And then, the appointment of the election workers and registrars, just in case there's any, if that's okay with you. Should the motion, I obviously include all the names.
Yeah, do you want me to make the motion?
Sure.
You're a little tired.
Yeah, I'm a little weak
Okay.
today, yeah.
I make a motion to appoint the following people as election constable until June 30th, 2014. George Pushy, Robert Sands, Eugene Dennis, George Coulard, Mark Anderson. Poll workers, warden, this is again until June 30th, 2014. Karen Hanula, Constance White, Sheila Tolman. Deputy warden, Susan Anderson, Joyce Brukin, Dorothy Ledgerlord. Clerk, Rawlene White, Mary Alger, Phyllis Dennis. Deputy clerk, Colleen Pender, Barbara Woodbury, Deborah Koschel. Inspectors, get comfortable. Doris Geister, Herbert Barron, Jean Hearns, Leo Provencher, Joyce Provencher, Priscilla Leclerc, Adrian Morgan, Francis Yukowski, Ida O'Brien, James Whalen, Janice Whalen, Lucille Benbenick, Paula Johnson, Thomas Benbenick, Jane Wheaton, Shirley Peabody, Carol Garvey, Catherine Casey, George Woodbury, Janice Tursky, Karen Tucker, Laurie Snoonian, Mary Chipman, Sharon Demick, Shirley Keeney, Virginia Campbell, Kathleen Gardner, Kathy Mattson, Annette Fleming, Cheryl DeCateret, Diane Coffin, Janice Casey, Linda St. Laurent, Shelley Saunders, Carol Clark, Diane Haley Brooks, Robert Kimball, Isaac Mattson, Sally Frisch, Janice Lovell, Kathleen McCullough, Ida Bean, Jessica Bergeron, Christine Sargent, Barbara Cullen, and Judith Levanger. One more? All right. And Samantha Anderson.
And do I have a second to those appointments?
Yep, second.
Okay. Is there any discussion or questions? Okay, if not, we can vote. Julie?
Yes.
Doug?
Yes.
And I'll vote yes. Thank you very much.
Carol, housekeeping copy. Fine, better late than never, you know? This item does involve the town treasurer who is in, we just need to not have this.
Okay, sure.
No. Let Dan know.
Yeah.
Perfect timing.
That is him. Oh, is he coming in?
How old is that air conditioner?
Looks pretty old.
Big enough. Probably always stuff.
Turn it up.
Up to this open, okay.
The next issue that we have on the agenda are to discuss payroll issues raised by Light and Water Department and by some town employees. We had, the Board of Selectmen had received a letter from John Driscoll raising concerns about payments to Mutual of Omaha Insurance Company for which payroll deductions were taken from 2 employees, whose names we won't mention, obviously, but they were notified that their insurance premiums had not been paid to Mutual of Omaha Insurance Company. So this was raised as an issue of concern, and we have brought it up now here to discuss it, and we have the treasurer with us, so I believe did issue an explanation, but for open town meeting, if you wanted to elaborate on that, and then if there are any questions or concerns, we could discuss. Okay, great.
Sure, thank you, Ken.
Sure.
That's right, I became aware that there was a problem with the insurance payment when I heard, I think it was on a Wednesday evening, I got a call from an employee that received a letter from the insurance company saying that they would be canceled if they weren't paid because it was late. So the first thing I did is I checked my records to see whether or not I had issued a request to pay it. And according to my record, I had. Then I went and checked to see whether or not there was a check that was cut. And according to my record, there had not been. That was not my record, it was town warrant. So apparently what must have happened is that while I created the request, I did not forward that request appropriately to the accountant for processing. It's a failure in the process. I found a couple of those. This one found me before I could fix it, but I found several of them, and I'm adjusting processes so that these things won't happen again in the future. There have been other issues that are corrected. Like I say, this one found me before I found it. I did have it corrected overnight, within 24 hours. I made an arrangement with the insurance company. I FedExed overnight delivery payment to them and expressed, to them that it was my error, that I would correct the situation. They seemed okay with it. And it was not only the light department that was affected, there were other departments affected as well. So we weren't picking on anybody.
All right.
It was my error.
Okay. So the situation is now since
It's
resolved, and
I haven't, I have not implemented a change in the process yet. Time, it's just, there's no time. But I will do that before the next cycle.
Gotcha. Okay. Okay, thank you. Were there any questions, comments? Mr. Driscoll? Sure.
First of all, thank you for putting me on the agenda.
Sure.
I know it was short notice. I'm not trying to blame any particular individual or process here of what's going on. I mean, obviously, I didn't want this put on the agenda because of this one issue. There's just been a lot of things going on in the last few months. Again, without even mentioning names, there's been issues with deferred compensation. There was one employee had an issue with dental insurance. I believe that employee just began dental coverage, so I'm not sure what the issue was. It involved getting an RX number or an HX number so they could go to dentist. One of our employees tried to go from an individual health plan to a group health plan and we found some problems. I received a letter from Earthlink last week saying that they were going to shut off all our phones in 10 days unless they receive payment. For whatever reason, they don't have that. That warrant check could have been cropped in the mail. I don't know that it was in the office here. I used my light department visa just to pay it because obviously phones kind of important. Same thing with Comcast. I got a similar notice saying they were going to discontinue service if they didn't receive payment. I think in seven calendar days. That would have been the we have a high-speed internet connection down at the wind turbine site, which is connected to ISO New England, National Grid, MWIC, and the office as well. So that would have been disastrous if that could shut off, especially with the temperatures where they were. There would have been no way to reconstitute our load. ISO New England would have been able to do whatever they wanted to our monthly bill when it rolled around. So these are just a couple of things that off the top of my head. Like again, without naming our employees or even people that work for the town offices who we dealt with, it just seems like in the last 6-month period there's been a serious breakdown what's always been a smooth process with the invoices, with the expenses from the light and water department would just kind of flow through the treasury and then back to the respective vendor or the respective employee. I think it was a little easier to understand it at the time where it was a few select vendor warrants for the light and water department, and they were always lawyer bills. But now that we're dealing with employee payroll, I feel like now we're dealing with issues that, number one, I can't control directly. None of these issues, fortunately, have really affected me individually because I don't have a deferred compensation. I have never changed my health or dental. I don't have a lot of these other things, so I've been fortunate in that sense. But I now have employees coming to me saying, well, geez, am I going to get a notice from the IRS in April? Are my taxes being paid? Because they're sure as hell being taken out of my paycheck. Where is the money going? People's deferred comp is being taken out weekly. Where it's going, they don't know because it's not being put into their respective account weekly. It might be every 2 weeks, every 3 weeks. So I'm getting questions I can't answer because I have a lot of holes in the financial area as far as this. What used to be a smooth transition. I didn't even think about it. Once I send those warrants out the door Monday morning up to the office, as far as I'm concerned, those bills are paid. So a lot of the times what's going on, particularly because there's no change in the amount of people's paycheck, not only do I have no way of knowing that something's going on, they have no way of knowing. Okay. I can't thank Dan enough for having patience dealing with Jen and myself, and we've tried to help him when we can. And he's helped us when he can. Same thing with Jeff too. But it's getting to the point now. I'd like to get back to the way things were, 6-9 months ago, maybe a year ago, and I don't know what that magic ingredient is. I don't know whether it's a person, a people, a process, something I'm doing differently. I've struggled to go back a year's time and figure out anything that I've done real differently as far as the whole, the warrant process goes. But had several vendors that are now been a lot of static between a lot of vendors and I. Yes, most of them are attorneys, but
I know they can be difficult. So.
Well, they're reasonable,
yeah.
but the issue with the attorneys is, the department doesn't always use attorneys for these, these so-called controversial issues that come up every time there's a town meeting or a special town meeting. We also use them for relatively mundane and what I would call boring things, which is, power contracts, and sometimes we have issues with personnel that needs to be addressed. Sometimes I have questions about the law that don't involve, necessarily a warrant article or a records request or something like that, So their willingness to jump every time I ask them to jump is they've all pulled back now, and now I'm starting to see that. With the bigger vendors, I was a little less worried, like somebody like an electrical contractor, like a Wesco or Gray Bar. The check is going to a holding, it's going to a safety deposit box in Chicago.
Yeah.
Does it matter any less to me? No, not really, but it's starting to affect the operations, and I just have concerns, that's all. And I think the issue with the Mutual of Omaha incident, as quickly as it was remedied, it still happened, and I feel like it was the last item, the last straw, if you will. So I just felt like the Board of Selectmen should know, with Jeff here, with Dan here as well, that I'm now running into my employees ask me questions I literally can't answer, like, why didn't this happen? Why is this happening? Why isn't it happening correctly? Why is it being done late? How come sometimes a whole week goes by and we just don't get any warrants processed at all? There's a lot of questions I just don't really understand, and that's why I'm here tonight. I'm not trying to be ambiguous and throw all these ideas out there, but I feel like there's a lot I can't answer right now to my employees, so I'm kind of coming to where the payments actually get completed, which is here.
Okay. Well, thank you for voicing your concern. And yes.
I'm having the same issue with some of my vendor warrants. I hadn't put it together until a couple of days ago. It seems like there's some sort of lag, in getting those warrants processed. For instance, the phone bill. I get a phone bill, it says you're behind, or you get a friendly reminder letter, And then I call, and Danny's been very helpful, helping me research whether or not that has indeed been paid. Most of the time it has been, but there is a lag. So pretty much everything Mr. Driscoll said, I don't often agree with you, but I have to tonight. And unfortunately, my personal item has not been taken care of. And so I'm having a hard time being patient.
I think, and this is just a suggestion, I don't know if there, and I'll take more discussion if there is any. I think maybe what a possible remedial solution to this may be is to, like any issues that you, Jeff, received notice of, that have kind of worked themselves out. Because I know that there will be some issues for which we can find an explanation, whether a phone bill's late, just because, as you know, with only 3 of us, we all have to sign every single thing for them to, so I can and with town offices closed on Friday, I know that, so if I come Thursday after work and I'm the last signature, that might not go out in the mail until Monday, and if it's already, cutting it close, just with the normal processes that we have, that some of those late payments, I'm sure can just be explained by the process that we have now, not so much the process, but the fact there's only 3 of us, so we all have to do everything, which may be remedied soon when Jeff returns. That some of those issues may be that, some of them there may be breakdowns in overall processes, some might be other reasons that we are able to pinpoint, when there was, some issue with the light and water, what was going to be, whether they were going to have a budget and kind of, steps that were taken maybe to prepare ourselves for that, those kind of things. That maybe if we could kind of put together a list, I mean, if everyone agrees with me, or if anyone else agrees with me, of kind of to address kind of what the issue is, so we can put our finger on it. There might be 10 problems that are all arising from one error in process that we can quickly correct, and then that whole step won't occur anymore. I don't know if there's.
I also think.
Oh, sure.
Okay, I also think this brings more to light that we, as a select board, need to define the town administrator role and get Jeff moved from town coordinator into town administrator. We need some more, day-to-day management of the whole operation. So I think these are the kinds of issues that are, forcing us in that direction sooner rather than later.
And just to give a little background, because I know that sometimes people don't understand this, because I'll run into citizens, no one in particular, but they'll email me and then, well, I haven't heard back from you on this issue yet. And part of the reason is obviously open town meeting laws. So if I get an email or we get an email that there's a problem, we can't discuss it amongst ourselves at all. And no individual one of us has really the authority to ask Mr. Ritter to do something, because he needs to be authorized by the board. So, for instance, in this case, because of the number of Mondays there were, it was 3 weeks in between, like, just general meetings that were kind of open to anything. So if someone emails me, it has to get put on an agenda, and then it might be another 2 or 3 weeks before we can discuss it as a board. So moving in the direction of, I think, a town administrator, again, would help alleviate that, so that we don't have, because we're not able to discuss it amongst ourselves and issue any official action by having Jeff handle some of those things, again, the mundane things that may also be part of that resolution to these issues. Yes?
Usually when you have a breakdown in a process, you either have a change in personnel, or you have multiple types of processes when you should have a standard process for all paperwork.
Right.
And from what I can understand of the issue, it's a breakdown in the fact that we don't have a standard process in place. There's different processes for different type of departments. And I think that needs to be standardized. I'm coming from a quality background, and when I looked at processes as far as quality breakdown, from my background, that's what we usually found as the breakdown as to why we ended up the quality of the product. And this is the quality of a product. I mean, when you end up having a breakdown such as that, you have a breakdown in the quality of the service, and the service is a product that is being produced here.
If I may?
Sure.
Just to sort of clear the air, I have been aware, and I have made comments regarding issues with the deferred compensation. I have a process, a plan to put in place. I have not implemented that process. Time, just out of time. I've been aware that there have been issues. Diana mentions her personal issue, and there was some that has to do with an issue that occurred before I got here, and I discovered it, but I just haven't had the time. My priorities are such that I haven't had the time to correct that issue. I've stopped it from continuing, but I haven't gone back and fixed it for the way it needs to be fixed. And it's basically like I'm doing 60 hours. I don't know what else to do. I have a priority list. I've been working with auditors, and that's a relatively high priority. I communicate with Jeff pretty frequently. He knows what I'm doing. He knows my priorities. I check it